clash, no roar, just silence. In the shadows, battles won. I see through foggy veils, no swords to raise, no cries to wail. Victory's touching ghostly hue. Darkness glows a pale blue. Silent shadows trace the ground. In this silence we are bound. Greatest victory found with ease. No need to fight, no need to seize. Creeping through the twisted wood, echo shards where warriors stood. Just a breath, just a wish. No more war, no final fist. Wisdom whispers in the night. Strength and peace, no need to fight. Witness walk in soft embrace. No battle scars, no deadly taste. Silent shadows trace the ground. In this silence we are bound. Greatest victory found with ease. No need to fight, no need to seize. Silent shadows trace the ground. In this silence we are bound. Greatest victory found with ease. No need to fight, no need to seize.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you can all hear me okay. My name's Alan from Mr. Bitey's Games and Hobbies, and today I figured you didn't want to just listen to me, so we have Jace. Jace is our lead graphic designer. They're the ones currently working on our adversary files, and the designer of our beginner box, the In-Between Mall, for when the game launches. Jace, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Very nice to be here. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
I'm also working on as the editing for all the books and um, overall designing, layout, things like that. Well, Alan is the brains of the lore for all of this.
Brains is probably a big word, but yes, I do a lot of the more nerdy stuff.
Well, the original concept is before it blew up into such a fantastic, crazy project that we came to work on.
Oh God, this has been mildly entertaining. So,
Oh, I should hope it's been a lot more than that.
uh, not at
Stressful
2
too.
a.m. Oh, very much. But joking aside, we are going to be going over a couple different things. So today, as we discussed, we're going to be going over tactics mode, which is the kind of base normal mode for anyone familiar with most tabletop RPGs. So this is where you slay the dragon, fight the princess. This is where you explore that abandoned mall, that kind of thing. So the main thing is tactics mode is where you have both in and out of combat. So later in the stream we're going to be running a sample combat so everybody can see how that goes. But if you're trying to persuade the town mayor that you need to get access to this old abandoned facility, that would be done in normal mode. If you're trying to do vehicle combat, y'all are in a van and somebody's trying to shoot at you, that's where you would do that, etc., etc. And if you're trying to avoid my cat, who has decided he is also going to help us stream, that would also be in normal mode.
Everything is better with a cat.
Yes, it is. Alright, you.
So, mind you, everyone watching, this is still pretty rough, and we're working on simultaneously as we work on the books, getting everything into digital format so that not only will this eventually be available for players to theater of the mind, tabletop this, but digital too, so that
Yes.
no matter where you are, you can play this awesome modern horror RPG.
Yes, so right now we are working, as you can see, we're getting everything set up on Foundry. We're also tentatively working with Roll20. Um, we are
It's a slow
also,
process. There's two of us.
it is, unfortunately, and both fortunately, we are a two-person team. We're trying to do a lot. This is a slow process, but we're dedicated to making sure that when we give you our product, it is a product well worth the money. We're not cutting corners. We're not messing around. And unfortunately, that means, yes, it's going to take time.
We'll get there.
Oh, yeah, no choice. So give me just a moment and then we can move on to the next. We will be talking about evasiveness, which is versus armor, which is something I've brought up in some other streams, but I want to go over it here just as a refresher before we get into the actual combat.
Did you update the stream name?
Let's verify. No, I did not. So, this is what we were talking about, everybody. Two-person team, and one of us is an idiot. So,
Oh,
yeah.
not an idiot. We're just new to the whole streaming thing. We'll
we
get there.
we really are, and thank you for bearing with us as we learn.
We've been at this for what, 2 years now, and we've come a long way.
Yes, I initially started this as a hyperfixation and avoidance during NaNoWriMo 2 years ago. I was writing a real story because I am a real author, quote unquote, and my brain went, hey, you know it'd be fun? Let's make a tabletop RPG from the very beginning. This is a great idea and can't possibly go horribly.
And then I
And,
convinced them to go along with it after I started my creative studio. Like, hey, what's the worst that can happen?
right,
Nothing.
Yep, I got going and I'm like, no, no, it's cool. I know how my brain works. I'll hyperfixate and then I can go back to my real project. And then I got on medication and my brain went, hey, boss, we're sticking with this. And crap, okay.
Then we both realized just how many moving parts there are to this.
Oh my
And with my
god.
experience with, other tabletop games and working with By Night Studios and things like that, I got a real glimpse into the background of how things work. And slowly, piece by piece, we're pulling this together.
Yes. Actually, I think this is the first stream I've done with you in a while. First official stream on the channel. So why don't we take a moment before we get going? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all a little bit about your background in gaming and all of that before we move on?
Oh, wow. So my name is Jace. Like I said,
Surprise.
I do layout, editing, working on the mechanical aspect because that's my specialty, while Alan works on the lore and things like that. Um, I've been gaming since high school, and I'm talking D&D Second Edition, THACO craziness, all the way up through current editions, though not much for D&D Fifth Edition. Now, it's really confusing to me, but playing Pathfinder and Pathfinder Second Edition is my current go-to. But I've played all the World of Dark, almost all the World of Darkness, collected those books. You know how much money you drop on all those,
Oh, yeah.
and then eventually working with By Night Studios, both on their hype team and things like that, and helping them, and then um, I was actually a storyteller for their official servers for I think a year and a half to 2 years, and that is absolute craziness. It's a 24/7 DM where players need things all the time. You're running things, and you know how eventually that always the DM, never the player sort of deal.
Oh yeah.
Eventually you get burnt out, but it was an incredible experience, and I learned a huge amount. And I've run my own LARPs in upstate New York, and then COVID hit, and you're not getting together with your friends after that for a time. And so things eventually pass around, but then I started my own creative studio, which involves digital art and I'm working on learning 3D modeling and a number of things, integrating into all of this with you, Alan. And it's just been a fantastic experience learning from my own background into this. And I've got a computer science background, so hopefully I can really put some of that to good use with the digital aspects.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Super Destructo, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, so myself, I am in a similar boat. Started as the Forever DM back when I was 13, yay, middle school. And I've basically been stuck in that role ever since, and it's been almost 30 years, which I'm not comfortable saying. That, hate how time flies like that. But I have always been the let's create homebrew rules guy, and eventually I just got tired of kit bashing different systems together and decided if I was going to screw with a system, it was going to be my system, and I was going to be the one. Which,
Whereas I've always been the one to look at a system, see its puzzle pieces, and see how I can break it. Not gonna
yes.
lie, used to be an absolute power gamer, figure out how to, make a roll a, plus 30 check at level 7 for a crazy bard stacking feats and all that stuff. But
Oh,
these days, since becoming, previously a storyteller and all this stuff, I really just want everybody to have fun. And that's been my main focus for years. And that's one of the driving principles that while working on this, we've come to focus on balance. Uh, you know, Everything makes sense and fun.
yes. So, at this point, let's go ahead and get back on topic. I know that's never something I'm good at, but let's right now talk about evasiveness versus armor. So, in other RPGs, other tabletop RPGs, again, as before, how about a little, or how am I sounding now? I have to move over a little bit to look at something else.
Alan, check the chat real quick.
Yeah, I did. I just answered it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Um, all right. All right. Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm very much the let's bounce around 18 different spots at a time. So if I do start to fade in or out, please don't hesitate to let me know. And thank you. Good. I did mess with the settings a little bit on my end. Um, Hopefully that continues to work. So,
Keep
evasiveness.
those settings and we'll be good.
Um, Caressing myself doesn't work when you can't see me. Anyway,
Back on
evasive,
topic.
right? Evasiveness versus armor. So, in a lot of other OGL derivative games, so your Dungeons and Dragons, your Pathfinder, etc., if I want to attack, say you, Jace, I'm swinging my plus 15 Vorpal blade of whatever at you. I would roll my
Yeah.
right. Go big or go home, right? Anyway,
Mhm.
um, I roll my attack. I compare it to your armor class, and we're good to go. Right? That's all I have to do, and then I have to roll damage if I actually hit you. Blah blah blah. in this game, we use oppose checks in the Shattered World. So I would roll my ferocity, which is my attack attribute, plus my melee skill, since I'm using my plus whatever Vorpal Happy Blade. And then you would roll your agility, which is your hand-eye coordination, your ability to get the hell out of dodge, plus your evasiveness. We would compare our rolls. If I win, I hit. If I lose, I miss.
So somewhat more similar to some of the World of Darkness, where
Yes.
number of successes versus each other. So this one is a little bit more single roll, less success
Yes.
oriented.
Yes. So unlike
Did you change my settings now?
I did a little bit ago. Give it a second, and then we'll see how that is. As I said at the beginning, we are, and as Jay said, we are new to this. The streaming, not the game design aspect. So there is going to be a little bit of technical difficulties. We sincerely apologize. We are learning this as we go. And again, thank you for bearing with us. Thank you, Super Destructo, for your assistance.
Especially since we're still relatively new to also using OBS, and sometimes that is not the most user-friendly thing.
No, it is not. Yeah. Right.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Or if are you a gamer if you haven't had audio issues doing stuff online?
Right. So, the main difference between D&D and Pathfinder and its derivatives and the Shattered World, as far as evasiveness versus armor, is if 17 people are attacking you and you have an AC, an armor class of 18 in the D&D style games, every person has to hit that 18. It does not change unless there are special abilities that change it. In the Shattered World, if your evasiveness is 3, that means you can, or if you have 3 ranks in evasiveness, let me phrase it that way so it's a little easier to understand, you can only attempt to dodge 3 times per round. So from the beginning of my turn until the beginning of my next turn, I can only attempt to dodge 3 times. If a 4th attack comes at me, then it automatically hits. We still roll.
That's going to be super. That's going to be super dangerous. One player going against a whole horde of enemies.
Yes, exactly. Very much melee combat is high risk, high reward. Typically, a melee weapon will do more damage per hit than a equivalent rifle or equivalent whatever.
Theoretically.
Right, theoretically and typically. Now, obviously, the specifics can change based on how you've statted out your gear, but the downside is you can get overwhelmed, you can get surrounded, you can get cut off, and you can get taken down very quickly. The game is very much based around that idea of very gritty, very dangerous tactical combat.
They better work together.
Right. Teamwork is paramount. That is a great middle name. That is a mouthful, but that is a great middle name. So, yes, teamwork is key. Teamwork is everything. You have to work together. If you don't, sorry. So, I do want to go over cover mechanics real quick, because that's not something I've had a chance to mention in previous streams. So cover mechanics, excuse me, are typically used by ranged um, combatants. And it's exactly what it sounds like. There's a waist high piece of junk, I'm going to hide behind it and then fire out from it. So if you've played the old Gears of War, if you played pretty much any shooter on the PlayStation era of games, Mass Effect, whatever, you know what taking cover is. You know how that works. Taking cover requires a single action. Unless otherwise stated, if you make an attack while in cover, cover ends because you have to lean out from cover to fire your gun, right?
Makes sense.
Yes. So there are 3 types of cover. So the first is inferior cover. That's where you're hiding behind something that isn't really protecting you so much as it is obscuring you. So that's when you drop prone in a shallow ditch. That's when you duck behind that really flimsy piece of plywood or a car door that a bullet can go right through, but your opponent can't see you quite as well, so they're not as accurate. That provides +1 armor until you leave cover. As long as the cover is in between you and your attacker. So, real quick, Jace, was there an issue with Foundry because it's now showing loading? There we go. I'm loaded back in.
Yeah, I was actually updating the cover.
Perfect.
I was trying to get a wider view.
Awesome. So, basic cover would be brick or reinforced wooden walls, sandbags, narrow windows, the engine block of a vehicle. Other reinforced objects provide basic cover. Again, basic cover, rather than providing the +1 to armor that inferior does, provides +2 to armor. Which I think in my distraction I skipped what armor was. So, evasiveness versus armor. Evasiveness is your ability to get the hell out of the way of the attack. Armor is damage reduction. So if I have an armor value of 2 in this case, any attack against me, the damage is reduced by 2.
So, to clarify, evasiveness is one of your skills.
Yes.
Armor is equipment.
Yes.
Generally. Might come from some special abilities. Adversaries will have things like that.
Yes. There are adversary merits such as, thickened skin where you reduce armor, things like that. There are some merits that will give you armor for player characters, but by and large, armor comes from gear while evasiveness is one of your skills. But the final type of cover is superior cover, and this is when you're in like a reinforced building, cement and rebar walls, fortified positions, narrow windows with bulletproof glass and specially designed cutouts for you to fire from, things like that.
Makes me think of that scene in The Matrix, in the first Matrix, where they're in that one building and everybody's shooting and they end up standing behind the pillars and everything's just exploding around them.
Yes. So, superior cover provides +3 to armor, and then, unlike the other type of cover, you don't have to expose yourself to attack from it. Now, you are still vulnerable if somebody comes around the corner and hits you from the other side. But as long as you are in that cover, you are +3 armor.
I imagine that'll change if, say, somebody throws a grenade or something.
Yes. And I hope you know that your profile is going to be changed after that comment to Darkwing Duck.
Exactly. Thank you for somebody getting it.
Right. No longer a Raven, you're Darkwing Duck. I'm sorry, it's the rules.
No. If I'm gonna go that route, I'm going Negaduck.
Oh God. Um. So back on topic. We've gone over attacks. In combat, there are basically two types of quote unquote attacks you can do. So the first are attack actions, and that's where my primary goal is to do damage to the other person.
All right. You mind if I switch it up to the
Yes,
our combat view then?
absolutely.
All right. So this is our little test demonstration for the Shattered World. The in-between box is a beginner box where basically it's going to be a dungeon crawler, to put it simply. So one of the locations, this little pizzeria right here. Got it. Alan, you're going to need to zoom in.
Already on it.
All right. So we've got this little test set up where we've got a couple of tokens. We've got our bad guys called cryptid rats. We'll get into that at another point.
So,
So,
when we're going to run a sample combat in a minute, but for now, yes, maneuvers versus attack skills. My memory is awesome. So, attack skills are anything where the primary goal is to kill your opponent, to do damage to your opponent. So, typically just your basic attack with your equipped weapon. The important thing to remember, any attack you make in a round after or in your turn after the first takes a stacking -6 penalty to attack.
you're rushing your shot.
You're rushing your shot. You're not taking that instant to line up. You're not taking that moment to aim. You're just kind of flailing. So you can still hit, potentially. One of the important things to remember is, I've gone over it again in other streams, but I'll go over it here now one more time. Critting and botching that you're familiar with from your OGL style games. I rolled a 20, that's an automatic crit. That does not exist in the Shattered World. Instead, we use what's called the degrees of success and degrees of failure system. Degrees of success is every 6 points above the attack, or above the target, I get an additional effect. So the example I normally give is with shotguns. If I roll a 24 and they rolled an 18, not only do I do my damage for my shotgun, but I push them back 1 square. Because more of the... Yeah. And every weapon has its own degree of success, its own degree of failure. So, that's something to remember. Again, I went over it earlier, but for any of my new people who just logged in, if you only have an evasion, or 2 ranks in evasion, and all adversaries, unless otherwise specified, are assumed to or get 2 evasions per turn, any attacks after that second automatically hit. You still have to roll with that penalty for the purpose of degrees of success, but you still hit, you still do damage. Now, maneuvers are the other thing you can do in combat. And very simply, maneuvers are where the goal is not necessarily to damage your opponent, but to apply a condition, to injure them, to make them bleed, things like that. Knock them prone, trip them. Those do not suffer from the multiple attack penalty. Excuse me. So, for example, one of the basic maneuvers we have is called distract. You make a mental acuity plus weapon skill roll based on the weapon you're using versus their resolve plus weapon skill roll of the weapon they're currently wielding. If you succeed, either they take a penalty to their offensive attack rolls or defensive attack rolls, or defensive rolls, sorry, until the beginning of your next turn. So that's something you can do with your actions that isn't necessarily going to take that penalty. And anyone can do distract.
Options.
Yes. We tried to make the game very tactical. And very everything matters. So, give me one moment. We are checking something right now. Alright, so before we get to the actual combat portion, does anyone have any questions? Anything I went over that was confusing? Anything that didn't make sense? So, while I'm waiting to see if anybody has any questions, I do want to say one more thing. In this combat demonstration, the characters all have rather unique weapons that we created for the purpose of this demonstration, just to show some of the other things they can do. Which, give me one moment. These weapons, these modifications, you will be able to find in the beginner box, potentially, but they will not come straight out of character creation, if that makes sense. This is just to give you an idea of what you can do in game.
It's all still pretty rough.
Yes. Jace, I just shared something with you. I thought I did it earlier, but apparently I failed. So, sorry about that. And
Oh, okay.
so at this point, there doesn't appear to be any questions, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So, Raven, Jace, if you want to set the scene for us, let us know what's going on and where exactly we are, and then we will roll for initiative.
All right. So let me get back to this. All right. So in the beginner box, it has your ostensible team going through a terrible situation at this shopping center or mall called Sebastian Commons. At this point, where the players are entering a location known as Tony's Pizzeria. And as they enter, which from the bottom is where you enter, let me just read this. The pizzeria itself is quiet aside from the sounds of quiet munching. The intermittent sounds of the air conditioner sputters, and the ceiling itself is partially fallen. The dark window still has the open sign, buzzing and casting red and blue glow, revealing one rat at the far end seating area. Easily seen, but this creature is the size of a German shepherd. So that's that's what you can imagine. A rat. We call them cryptid rats. If you're familiar with New York City rats, you can understand.
Yes. Yay, that's not a rat, that's a pony. So,
Essentially.
alright, so in order to roll initiative, which determines your turn order, yes, kill it with all the fire. So, initiative is your ability to both spot the enemy and react. So, unless you were doing something specifically before combat began, such as hiding behind something, etc., the default initiative roll is agility plus perception. So, for example, the unit support, which is our battle nun down here. Roll your base 2d12. She has an agility of 2 and then no perception. So we're going to do 2d12 plus 2. All right, 16.
Very nice. All right, so me controlling our beat stick, which is, as you can imagine, is a very fighter type. So we're going to start with their agility is 2. And then what did you say? Perception.
Perception, yep.
They have absolutely no perception, so they're going to be running their just agility alone. It's going to be 2d12 plus 2. Oh, wow.
All right.
That is an absolute crazy roll for off the cuff.
So, our beat stick is going first.
Apparently, let me check out my... So the occult expert, who is somewhat less, even less agile, they've got an agility of 1. Plus their perception. They are fairly perceptive at 3. Medium roll.
All right, 13.
Oh, well, aside from that 1. And then our sharpshooter, I should hope that they're pretty perceptive. They've got a decent agility at 2. And then their perception of 8.
Yes. Not
21.
bad. All right,
I hope
and then
you're
our
writing this down because we don't have a encounter tracker at this point.
yes. So I am writing this down. That's actually why I've been quiet. So mission control. Their agility is also only 1. And then their perception is 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4, not 3. Yay, public schooling. 14. So now, if you want to do the honors for our cryptid rats.
All right, so they... Sec. Pulling those up now. Right, so I won't get in too much on our adversary system. We're going to save that for a stream that we had some technical issues on. But effectively, what amounts to these particular creatures, they have a agility, essentially of 3, but they do not possess the perception skill. So that is just going to be their 2d12 plus 3. Didn't take 2.
All right.
Which is an 8. Now, mind you, when playing, there's a bunch of enemies, and you could do them essentially in the same. You could do them either as a whole or as each individually. That's really up to the GM. We're let's not get into that right
Yes. So, we are going to, right now, we are going to just set them all at 8 for this purpose. And let it roll. If we die, we die. So, with this game, The Shattered World, now that we're in tactics mode, let's talk about actions per turn. So, actions per turn is based off your ferocity. Unlike other games, there is no standard action, move action, swift action, intermediate action, Bob's action, simple whatever. None of that exists. There are actions per turn. If your ferocity is 1 or 2, you get 2 actions per turn. If your ferocity is 3, 4, or 5, you get 3 actions per turn. If you've managed to get your ferocity to 6, meaning your enhancement is in ferocity, then you can get 4 actions per turn. Everything is an action unless otherwise specified. If I want to draw my weapon, that's an action. If I want to draw my weapon, swing once, and then retreat back, that's 3 actions.
When we get around to it, if we figure out some things, don't require an action, it'll have some sort of tag associated with it, like a non-action tag. That's just it takes absolutely no thought, no effort in order to do that while you're doing something else.
Right. The other tag to keep in mind is reflexive action. So everybody gets a number of actions per turn based on their ferocity, and then 1 reflexive action. So if somebody tries to run past me, I can take a swipe at them.
Basically some opportunity or defensive, something along those lines.
Yes. So, we'll go ahead and start the combat. And based on our turn order... Initiative. Beat Stick is going first. After that is going to be the Sharpshooter. After that is Unit Support, Occult Specialist, Mission Control, and then if any of the rats are still alive, the rats.
Alright, so Beat Stick, crazy guy that he is, he's got a ferocity of 5. That's going to give him 3 actions.
Yep.
And because his agility is a 2, his movement isn't super huge, so that's going to be his steps.
Yep.
That. So 1, 2. He's just going to go straight for the nearest rat. Now, I've got him set up with a little macros, my Beat Stick blade. That's going to be 2d12 plus 11. That's pretty beefy for a fairly low level, not level, early built character. So he rolled a 24 to hit this guy, and the cryptid rat
has rolled a 17.
Ooh.
So that is a hit with a degree of success.
Which is pretty good.
Let me
double check. We had the stats for that particular weapon, don't we?
Yes, we do. So that particular weapon, the Beat Stick's blade, does 5 damage plus your ferocity, so 10 damage total.
Yep.
If you kill a target with an attack action, gain 1 stamina.
He's not hurting on stamina right now, but if he was, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yes, and then the edge of your claymore is serrated. So if it had survived, it would take the condition bleed 2. Now, 10 points of damage, I believe that is enough.
More than enough.
Yes. So cryptid.
Not only does it do damage, it's what we call for an echelon, which is sort of like their ranking system for the adversaries, is that the higher the echelon, the more its wounds, similar to a player. It has health, and then it has a certain amount of wounds based on that. 10 damage, plus, going to take the bleed, is going to be more than enough to take out this rat for the first time.
Yes.
So, I will toggle that one to invisible. It's gone.
Alright, so the beat stick at this point has used 2 of its actions. It has 1 action left.
So it is going to move closer to the next enemy. And it's going to, the beat stick is going to end their turn.
Awesome.
They're an up close and personal sort.
Alright, so at this point, beat stick is gone. It is now the sharpshooter's turn.
Alright. She is definitely going to stay back. That's this character all the way on the right with the red border. And she is going to target this cryptid rat right here, all the way at the far end of this sort of table. Now, what's the stats on this particular rifle?
So, the sharpshooter's luck is the sharpshooter's rifle. Damage is 4, and it does an additional +2 occult damage. So 6 total. And then once per tactical pause, you can spend an action to ignore up to superior cover.
Which this thing might have, because I'm shooting not only down, down across the screen, it's not exactly as tall as this table.
So it has not spent its action because we managed to go first. We are actually attacking it before it has a chance to take cover. If it chose to take cover on its turn, then you're absolutely right. You'd be firing through these chairs, through the table. It would absolutely have superior cover. But sometimes initiative and agility counts for something. So, go ahead.
It does. Basically, what amounts to an ambush.
Yes.
All right. So I am going to roll. It's their agility, which is a 2. And then they've got firearms.
Ferocity.
7.
Your attack is ferocity.
Sorry, you're correct. Yeah, that's all the other systems in my head.
Yes.
No, you shoot with agility or dexterity in some systems.
Yes.
Ferocity is specifically not strength.
Yes. So that's something that is very important. Ferocity is not a measure of strength. Ferocity is your willingness to hurt the other person. So whether you're attacking with a melee weapon or a ranged weapon, it is all based off ferocity. Ferocity is, unless otherwise stated, the default attack stat.
So, ferocity of 5 plus the firearms of 7. So that's
Yep.
going to be a total of 2d12 plus 12.
Yep.
Oh, that's not a great roll.
Well, let's see how you did.
Ooh.
Ooh, so your
23.
first attack misses.
All right. So I think her skills are good enough for this sharpshooter that she's going to roll again,
All right.
but taking the -6 penalty. So it's only going to be a 2d12 plus 6.
Yep. So it's going to try and dodge again. Go ahead and make your attack.
Again, not a great roll.
Good enough to hit.
All right. So you said it's going to be 4 base damage plus 2 occult damage.
Yep.
All right. So that's going to be a total of 6 damage. No, you said plus ferocity?
Not for ranged weapons.
There you go. That's a nice difference to
Yes.
illustrate.
So, again, melee weapons get ferocity added in because melee weapons are inherently more dangerous. You have to be right up close to your enemy. You run the risk of getting surrounded, etc., etc. Ranged weapons are much safer, but tend to not do quite as much damage. Though in this case, how does that...
6 damage is not going to be enough to knock this particular rat out. It will bring it into wounded, but not dead.
Okay, so here is where we also have to make a choice. So again, your sharpshooter had a ferocity of 5, which means they get 3 actions per turn. You have or the cryptid rat that you're shooting at has already attempted to dodge twice. It no longer has any evasion attempts left. If you attack it, you will take a -12 penalty, but you will automatically hit.
This brings me into potential for degrees of success.
Yes. You would be rolling simply for degrees of success. Regardless of what the roll shows, you will hit. Now, at first glance, this may appear overpowered. Okay, well, why do anything else? I'll just keep firing at the thing. This is just one combat. Ammunition is tracked.
Which is a little bit different from some other games, or
Yes.
GMs, like say in Pathfinder, don't necessarily track arrows or anything, but our system specifically is a little bit more tactical oriented.
Yes. If you're at your home game and you want to play action movie style where you just fire a never-ending wave of bullets, sure, go ahead. It's your home game. You already bought my system. I'm not going to hunt you down and yell at you, all right? Like, that's your home game. You're solid. Officially, ammunition is tracked. Special ammunition is tracked. So you very much have to run those numbers in your head. Do I really want to risk attacking this thing? Do I want to waste that extra bullet, or do I want to let it get closer now that I know it's almost dead, or let one of my allies finish it off, right? Finish it off with my boot knife, whatever. So, I have droned on enough. Jace, go ahead. What are you going to do with your final action?
Well, this character's sharpshooter is designed for taking a bunch of shots. Now, when they roll this last attack, it's just going to be a straight 2d12 because that penalty completely wipes out their bonus to it. So let's see how that goes. Moderately. 15.
So, 16. They still hit, even though the cryptid rat rolled higher. Again, this is only for degrees of success. So you do base damage with no degrees of success.
Which is just going to be the 4 damage of the weapon plus the 2 occult damage, which now, combined with the last attack, is going to be enough to take out this particular critter.
Yes.
Go ahead and make that invisible.
Awesome. So that is 2 rats down.
Out of 7, mind you.
Yes. So, next up Actually, we're going to wait a second before we move on to the next person. So we went over this yesterday with our equipment discussion, but I want to go over it one more time. It did not matter for these attacks because there's a wall in the way. The sharpshooter is using a rifle which has the penetration traits, meaning when you attack in a line, and the first two targets in that line are what you hit. If one of them is an ally, sorry, dude. So, in this instance,
Since we have some walls in there.
right, we have some walls. They weren't lined up, so they only hit the one. I just wanted to call that out before we moved on.
That's a good difference between somebody using a shotgun and somebody using a rifle.
Yes, so shotguns are similar, only they attack in a cone. So, I don't remember who my shotgun specialist is, but we'll get there in a minute. So, next up is going to be unit support, which is
You.
me. That is the battle nun. That is one of my favorite characters. So, our good old battle nun has a sword and shield equipped. She has a slender, almost rapier style blade, and then an old school heater shield. Looks like it came out of a Renaissance fair. So,
Nice.
this character is not the best at dealing damage, but they are amazing at negating and otherwise reducing damage. They are very much that kind of paladin tank style character.
Mind you, at this point, where we're going with these particular enemies do not have any armor, which is why none of the damage has been reduced.
Right. So, this character, their first action, they only get 2. So, action number 1, we are going to move up. We can move up to 6 squares. So, 1, 2, 3. As they are going to start chanting and rhythmically tapping their shield with their sword. This is going to activate their special ability, Showmanship. So, I make 1 Resolve plus Performance check, and then I can either boost myself or I can penalize my enemies. I am going to penalize my enemies, so each opponent within 6 squares that's within 6, that's within 6. They are within 6, but there's no way they're in another room. There's no way they can see or hear me, really. So, I have to make Resolve plus Performance, which is going to be my 2d12 plus a Resolve of 4 and a Performance of 6. So 2d12 plus 10. Horrible. Alright. So 16. Every rat, except for that one back there, must make Resolve plus Empathy check versus that difficulty of 16. So, if we look at our adversary, Do you have them pulled up, Raven?
Yep.
What is their resolve plus empathy?
Resolve 3, and they have no empathy, so it's just going to be 3. They count as having 0 in that skill.
Alright, so Cryptid 6. Failed. Cryptid Rat 2 succeeded. Cryptid Rat 3. Failed. Cryptid Rat 5. Succeeded. None of them got degrees of success. So, every one of them that fails, the next opposed roll they make, whether they are attacking me or I am attacking them, they take a -2 penalty to.
That's going to be pretty huge.
Yes. So, Cryptid Rat 2, which is this one up here, succeeded. The other 3 here failed. Those are my 2 actions, so the unit support is done. We are now going to move on to mission control.
Another one you're controlling?
Yep. So the mission control is our leader. This is the first turn of combat, and they have a ferocity of 3, so they get 3 actions per turn.
Which is pretty good.
Yes. So the first thing they are going to do, the occult specialist is next, so they are going to use battle analysis as their first action. They can give one ally a bonus to 1 check equal to their mental acuity. Their mental acuity is, let me verify, 5. So the occultist, on their next attack check, whether that's a destiny ability or whether it's an attack, they get a +5 bonus to that check. That's going to be their first action. Their second action is going to be me clicking on the right button. 1, 2, 3. They're going to move here. And now they are going to pull out their rifle. Both of these are in line. So I'm going to go ahead and make my attack as my third action. Normally, the mission control is all about using leadership abilities in order to buff their allies, but for this purpose, I wanted to demonstrate the rifle. So, their ferocity is 3, and then their firearms is 4. So they will make...
Pretty good pool.
Yes. 2d12 plus 7. Well, we got that Allen luck rolling right there. That's how I do. That's how I roll. So, they made an attack of 15. Cryptid Rat 5 and Cryptid Rat 3 both have to attempt to evade. So we'll do Cryptid Rat 5 first. So my attack met or beat, so the attack succeeds. In cases of meet or beat, the meet goes to the attacker.
That's pretty meter beat for most systems like that.
Yes. And then Cryptid Rat 3 succeeded. Not only that, but that means against this last one, our mission control got a degree of failure.
So explain what that means in the context for this ability.
So for this ability, they were making a basic attack. Not only did they miss this second rat, so the first one took damage, which I will get to in a second, but every weapon category has its own degree of failure. So for long arms, the degree of failure is jam. Their rifle jammed for a second, they lose 1 round from your active magazine. That round is done, it is dud, it is gone. So they ejected it real quick, and they can continue, but they have one of their rounds is gone. So rather than, they have a magazine size of 15, rather than being down to 14 shots before they have to reload, they're now down to 13 shots before they have to reload. That doesn't sound like a lot when we're using basic ammunition, but if that was a rare bullet, that's now gone. So
I
that...
better hope not.
Right. So... the leader was using their rifle.
Your mission control.
Mission control, not leader. Sorry. Too many different characters we've made. Yay, playtesting.
Lots of pre-mades for a lot of different demonstrations that we're working on, and some other pre-made beginner boxes for people.
Yes.
It's all, like I said, all work in progress.
Yes. So, the Mission Control's rifle has a special glowing sight. Whenever they successfully attack a target, in this case they successfully attacked Cryptid Rat number 5, until the beginning of their next turn, anyone else who attacks Cryptid Rat number 5 gets a +1 bonus to their attack. They do... Mission Control did 4 damage. So, next up, that is all 3 actions. Next up is the Occult Specialist.
Alright. This guy is going to be a little bit different. He does not have as much... So, you didn't really do all that much damage, right?
Right.
To the Cryptid Rat 6?
Yeah, no damage has been done to that one yet.
Poor little guy. So, the Occult Specialist doesn't have a great agility, just a 1. So he's not moving all that far. But he's got a really cool ability from the Tarots, the Tarot Destiny. Specifically, he has the Magician Tarot. With a ferocity of 3, that's going to give him 2 actions. So he's already used 1. And he's going to use, like I said, this cool ability, and I'm going to show you right now. Right. Are you able to
Yes.
see? So, this is a journal entry specifically for the Magician Tarot for this cool ability. Oh, unfortunately, he can't. So, let's roll that back slightly.
So,
otherwise he won't.
Actually, they can use it. So, Your ferocity you said was 3.
Yeah, that's only 2 actions, right?
That's 3 actions per turn.
Oh, that's 3 actions per turn.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. It's equal to it. No. Well, oh, 1 and 2 is 2 actions.
3 to 5
3,
is
4.
3.
There we go. So yes, they did move one. Sorry, it's a lot that we're trying to cover. So as they use the burning air, so that's going to cost 2 actions and 1 of their destiny points, and they are going to target one enemy, one adversary, being that cryptid rat 6, and they are well within the 5 squares. So with this, they're going to make a mental acuity. Their mental acuity is 5, plus knowledge, and their knowledge is 6, so plus 11 versus the agility plus athletics. If you wouldn't mind rolling for the cryptid rats, they only have an agility of 3 and no athletics.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll. That was not a great roll, but it's still a success.
So, yep, that is a success. So, what does burning air do?
So, if they fail, they still set the target on fire and do 2 damage. That would be if the enemy fails.
Yep.
Effectively like a saving throw. We should probably reword that slightly. So, and if they are a specialist, which at knowledge ranks, they have
6.
6. Yep. That is definitely more than a specialist. Deals
Yes.
3 damage, and if you have the pinnacle, which they're not quite there yet.
Yes, so as a reminder from previous streams, if you have 1 rank in a skill, you are considered a rookie. If you have 4 ranks in a skill, you are considered a specialist. And once you hit 7 ranks in a skill, you're considered pinnacle.
So, with this, they're going to deal 3 fire damage for the next 3 rounds. Now, the rat will be able to make another attempt at the same difficulty. So, because I rolled a 19, they're going to have to roll better than a 19. And this won't count against their evasions. It's just sort of a persistent effect.
Yep.
So they're going to need to beat that 19 in order to overcome it.
Yes.
Pathfinder does a very similar thing with their persistent. And say I do this again on the next turn, it's not going to stack.
Right.
It'll just reset. So that is effectively the occult expert's turn. So he lit this guy on fire.
Awesome. So at this point, all of the characters have gone. We are now on to the rats with their 8. So this first cryptid rat, the first thing they're going to do is make their check. (2d12 plus 3).
14, 17. That one is still going to take another 3 points of fire damage.
So they have taken 6 points of fire damage total.
Mm-hmm.
And where does that leave them?
That leaves them into their wounded track, so not quite dead. And something that we should note is that this damage is happening at the beginning of a turn because they have not had a chance to put themselves out.
Right.
So that's a little bit different from other systems. So they are still up and still potential for attacking.
Yep, so you said they were...
They are wounded.
So minor wound?
Yes.
So at this point, because they have a minor wound, They take a -3 penalty to all ferocity, agility, and mental acuity based checks. So, their first action, they are going to go ahead and take a swipe at our battle nun here. So, that is again ferocity, which means they would take that penalty.
Bad.
So they rolled 20 -3, so they actually only got a 17. Our battle nun, in her heavy armor and shield, does not have a high evasiveness. In fact,
But they have armor.
yes, they have armor instead. Roll 2d12. So they actually have an evasive skill of -1.
Ooh.
So they severely failed.
Yeah, definitely.
Which means they are going to. That is 1 degree of failure. So they are going to get the sickened 1 condition. But how much damage does a cryptid rat do?
So, their ferocity, because they're doing it, is going to be 3 base damage plus 1 for the claws and plus 1 for bestial weaponry.
All right, so normally it's 5, but the unit support has an armor of 3. So they only take 2 points of damage, which leaves them at 10 stamina out of their max of 12.
It's not a lot of hit points.
It is not. Hit points are rather low for characters. The system is very dangerous. You're not going to be able to tank and spank everything all the time. But that is its first action. With its last action, it is on fire, it is nearly dead. It is going to run. And when it tries to run, it is
with
going
an agility of 3.
with an agility of 3. Come on.
Oh, and it
Our-
also has the venom injector impact. Give me one moment. That actually does something too. And we'll get into actually what impacts are at a later date. But overall description, dangerous impact allows the adversary to inject a deadly poison into the victim. Whenever it strikes with a paired bestial weapon positive impact, which was its bestial the victim makes an endurance plus survival check versus the adversary's ferocity plus adversary DC, which is 3. So go ahead and make that endurance plus survival check for them, please.
All right, so that is going to be +3 for the unit support.
Versus the adversary is going to be rolling the 2d12 plus ferocity, which is 3, and the adversary DC, which is 3. So, total of +6. Oh.
All right.
Not only that, it is a degree of success. So normally it would start at stage 1 for this poison, which causes 2 points of persistent poison damage.
Okay.
And it stops after 10 rounds or until the victim makes enough successful checks to end the poison. But since it's got a degree of success, this automatically starts at stage 2, which is that 2 points of damage, and the victim takes a -1 to their check to resist, so their next check.
Okay. And then, as the thing tries to run away, our unit support gets an attack of opportunity.
Reflexive action.
Reflexive action, sorry, too many systems. That is going to be a +7. So 18, and then the cryptid rat attempts to evade.
Okay, that cryptid rat ran.
All right. So, cryptid rat goes. Next up
Notably,
is...
he did not try to put himself out.
Right. So that is its 2 actions. So next up is cryptid rat 2. Their agility was how much again?
3.
3. So again,
Yep.
they are going to attack the unit support because that's the only one they can reach. And they are taking a -2 penalty because they failed.
Against the previous thing.
Yep. So 21, so 19. Now the unit support has attempted to roll or evade once. They have 2 evasions per turn. So they are going to roll one more time.
The unit support?
Yep.
All right.
Is -1. And you said they took a penalty to agility-based checks?
Yep, they take a venom injector. No. They take a -1 to checks to resolve the condition.
Okay. So 2d12 -1. Unit support is just getting their butt kicked tonight.
Ouch. Now, that looks like degrees of failure.
Yep. So that is again 2 degrees of failure. So their sickened 1 now jumps to sickened 3. So sickened 3, they take a -2 penalty to all agility-based checks, and they are unable to eat or drink. This condition will reduce by 1 at the beginning of their round, or the beginning of their turn. But for now, if they had a potion that they could drink, they can't drink it. So, that is going to be that rat's turn.
Let's move on to some of these guys over here. Cryptid rat 3 and 5.
1, 2, 3. And then this one.
Mind you, these are German Shepherd size rats.
2. So, because Mission Control did not take cover, they're going to try to leap over this little half wall to get through to Mission Control and attack them. So, Mission Control, the rat, first, we're going to do their attack. Again, they have a -2 penalty.
Oof. 16.
Yep. And then mission control. Their agility plus evasiveness. Their agility is 1. And their evasiveness is 1. So 2d12 plus 2.
But they have... Oh, that does not great.
I am not allowed to roll anymore. That is what that is telling me. Oh. Oh, the dice gods have spoken, and I am not happy.
All your armored characters are just sucking.
Yes. So, that is okay.
That is only 1 degree of failure because it's 11 and not
Yes.
12.
So the mission control has sickened 1, which will go away at the beginning of their next turn. But you said this thing normally does 5 damage?
Yes, between their ferocity, the claws, and then the bestial weaponry, which does another damage.
Yes.
And they will need to make a check of endurance. Let me get back to the venom injector. Venom injector. Okay, so endurance plus survival.
So that is 6 for the mission control.
Oh man, this is not gonna go. Plus 6 for Senior Rat. Moderately better. 17 versus your
18.
You rolled an 8.
Yep. So that is 1
Okay.
degree of success.
Yes. So, no. That's 1 degree of failure for you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to do 2 points of persistent poison damage on top of this. So it's going to immediately take 2 damage.
Okay.
And then, which is going to stop after 10 rounds. And at stage 2, they take a -1 penalty to their check to resist to end this condition.
Yes.
So they are taking a full 5 damage, which can be negated by armor.
Which
How much is their armor?
No. So the mission control is in light armor, which gives a bonus to evasiveness and a penalty or no armor.
Ouch. Okay, so they're going to take the full 5.
Yep.
And
Plus
then they're going to take 2 persistent, which is not going to be hindered at all if they had armor.
Right. So they have taken 7 points of damage. They are now down to 3 stamina.
Ooh, they are hurting pretty bad.
Yes.
New York City rats are dangerous.
Yes, which just goes to show, don't wander away from the group. But that is all. Nope, one more rat.
Nope, we have 2 more. 1 and 6. No, 6 already had his turn.
Yep. So the 1 rat left, the 1 rat just moved. So now that is the end of the round. Top of the order, Beat Stick.
All right. So, let me get back to Beat Stick here.
So as a reminder, your movement speed is equal to your agility plus 4.
Right. Well, this wasn't a very big area, so they hadn't needed to. So, this is a tough call for Beat Stick because both of our frontliners, the battle nun, our our unit support, and our mission control are severely hampered at this point. But it's looking like mission control is probably worse off at this point.
Yep.
So they are going to move 1, 2, and see about taking out Cryptid Rat 5 with their Ferocity of 5, melee 6, so plus 11.
All right.
If you wouldn't mind rolling opposite. Hitting my dice. All right. It's only 1 degree of success.
Yes. So, with your weapon, you will again do your 10 points of damage, which I think is enough to outright kill it.
Yep. Then there was an additional serrated effect, right?
Yes. You would apply bleed, and then for degree of success, for each degree of success, the target takes a -1 penalty to their evasiveness score until the beginning of your next turn. So if it had survived, it would have some pretty hefty penalties. But it didn't.
Nope. Nope. You got rid of the wrong one.
Oh.
All right. It's this one, which I'm just going to make it invisible.
Cool.
All right. So that was 1, a move action, an attack action.
Yep.
And ferocity, I have 3 actions.
Yep.
Let me see if I have any items. You give this guy any cool items?
So the main, right now, no, just the weapon. They do again. If they had been injured, they would have regained one stamina, but they haven't been. Yeah, this character is very much made to take out that one big threat.
Right.
This character
now,
is
as a potential.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, looking at the sheet that we have for pre-made, I would, at this point, with only 1 action, would potentially go into Nutcracker Stance, which would negate, ignore 1 armor when attacked with a one-handed weapon, or 2 armor with when attacking with a two-handed weapon. So, but since these adversaries don't really have any armor, it wouldn't really make sense to do that.
Correct.
So, they are going to move back into 1, 2, 3, 4. To place them hopefully more in line with the damage. Give our unit support a little bit of breathing room, hopefully.
Yes.
So, that's all 3 of their actions. Who's up?
All right. So after the beat stick, I believe it is the sharpshooter. Yes, it is.
I believe you are right. Let's take a look at this. Range of 13. So I've got more than enough range. But I am going to 1, 2, 3, 4 tactically move here so that when our sharpshooter shoots, hopefully we'll get both of these.
Yes. You don't want to fire through the mission controller, the beat stick? I'm sure that's healthy.
I don't want to get reprimanded for friendly fire later on.
Right. That's all we need.
All right. So a ferocity of 5 and a firearms of 7. That's going to be a total of 2d12 plus 12.
So at this point, Hasn't taken any attacks yet. So,
Oh, that was so close to a 12. So a 29 versus both of these guys.
so first one got a 14. So that is going to
2 degrees of
be
success.
2 degrees of success, which means you ignore 2 points of armor possessed by the target, which it doesn't have. So, second one,
Moderately better.
so that is still hit with a degree of success. So they both take full damage.
Which was going to be... It was
6.
5 damage for the rifle.
6 damage.
6 damage. And anything special about it?
Nope. 2 of it is occult damage.
Oh,
So,
that's right. It was 4 base damage, 2 occult damage.
Yep.
All right, so they're each going to take 2 damage, or rather 6 damage, which is not enough to kill them.
But you said that puts him at minor wound, right?
Puts him at wounded, yep. So she is going to, she moved and attacked.
Yep.
Now she's going to take another shot
All right.
at that -6.
So, both of them will attempt to dodge, and this will be their second dodge attempt. So until... God damn.
Yeah, sharpshooter's kicking it up.
So, fail...
1 degree.
Yep.
Ooh, so a degree of success for against the lower one.
Yep, and the other gets 2 degrees of success. So again, for the rifle, that doesn't really matter because neither of the cryptid rats have armor. But another 6 damage to each, so they are both dead.
They are. So let me make those invisible. All right, which just leaves our wounded cryptid rat 6 and cryptid rat 1.
Yep.
Who's up?
So, after the sharpshooter, unit support, who takes another 2 damage. Yay, poison. Now, they are going to attempt to treat their poison as an action. So that is going to be their mental acuity plus their heal. And what was the DC of that poison, Jace?
It was 19 when it got rolled. And remember, they take a -1.
Alright. So, that'll be 2d12 plus 4.
Oh.
So they failed.
And with a degree of failure on top of it. So it is going to get worse.
Okay.
They're now at stage 3, and the victim takes a total of 3 persistent poison damage with each failed check. So they're not going to take any additional. They've already taken their damage for the turn. However, the next time that their turn comes around, they're going to take another 3.
Alright, so at this point, with their second action, they are going to raise their shield. So their armor is now set to 4 rather than 3. And that is the unit support's turn. Next
Very
up,
defensive.
very defensive. Next up is mission control.
Very defensive. Very demure.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to go ahead and take a pot shot at cryptid rat number 1. Because cryptid rat number 3 or number 6, the one on fire, is going to take another 3 fire damage at the beginning of its turn, which I believe will be enough to kill it.
That will be enough to kill it.
So, let's go ahead and fire at the first one. Again, Mission Control has a ferocity of 3 and a firearms of 4. So we're looking at 7. 2d12. I'm rolling 2d12 plus 7, not 2d127. All right. So
Okay.
13. They are attempting to evade.
Oh. That rat. Okay, so you're rolling real well for the rats, but not
Yes.
so much for you.
That's right. That's how it goes.
Now, how much is a mission control? How much health do they still have left? Because they just took persistent damage.
Yes, so they are at 2 stamina. Right? That is my luck when it comes to rolling, and that is dangerous. So they moved, they attacked, they have 1 action left, so they are going
treat
to.
themselves.
That's what I'm looking at. They do not have any ranks in heal, but they are going to use their leadership ability, which is tactical acumen. So, tactical acumen. All ally, or yes, they're just going to do tactical acumen. So, all allies within a number of squares equal to their leadership, which would hit all of their allies, will gain a +2 to all maneuvers they attempt and a +1 to all attacks they attempt.
Reasonably pretty good.
Yes. And that is going to be their turn. So, next up is going to be the occult specialist. And real quick, I see more people have joined. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Hope you guys are enjoying so far.
Yes, this is, again, for those that have just joined, a demonstration of how combat works in our upcoming tabletop RPG, The Shattered World. This is a complete standalone system. This is not part of another game. So, occult specialist, Jace, what you gonna do?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I think they've got a couple of cool abilities called Leyline Draw, which potentially heals them. What you took from me, but I think where we're at right now, we can save some of the cooler abilities for once we get the journal entries in the system. So we're just going to once again move. Ooh, 1, 2. They have an agility of 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they are going to throw another fireball using 1 destiny point, and it costs 2 actions. And they are going to target this guy, the Cryptid Rats 1, because Cryptid Rat 6 is already on its last legs. It's not that big a deal.
Yep.
So let me bring that back up. So I get to make a mental acuity plus knowledge versus target's agility plus athletics. If you wouldn't mind rolling that. They
Absolutely.
have no athletics.
$17.
Alright, mental acuity of 5 plus my knowledge of 6, so plus 11.
Come on, don't roll like me. Don't roll like me.
Oh no, I'm having just fine.
That's right,
So
double
that's
digits.
11. No, 9. It's still going to be a degree of success.
Which Burning Air does not have any degrees of success, if I recall correctly. Instead, they
Does
have
not
the.
currently.
Yes. So,
That's
ex-
something we need to address later.
yes. Extremely long story short, when you're looking at different abilities, some of them will have degrees of success, typically attacks. Some of them will instead get better based on your skill. So, Burning Air is a great example of that because because the occult specialist is a specialist in knowledge. They're doing 3 damage per turn rather than the typical 2.
Because they're more skilled,
Yep.
they're expected to roll better.
Yes.
So, because they are in fact a specialist, it deals 3 damage every round for 3 rounds.
Yes. So they have taken 3. So they are injured but not quite wounded.
Right. And that is going to be the occultist. Now, mind you, this is doing somewhat equivalent damage to, say, the beat stick, who in one round did, 10, 11 damage. This one is doing damage over time,
Yes.
assuming you live that long.
Yes. One of the abilities that the occult specialist has that we haven't used yet in this stream, I just want to call it out real quick because it looks like this combat is about over. One of the abilities they have is called Whatever It Costs. Now, we chose not to use it because these are very swarmy, low-level enemies.
Not
Whatever
worth it at this point.
Right. Whatever it costs, basically the occult ritualist can spend 1 salary whenever they cast a destiny ability or a ritual and increase both the range and the damage of that ability or ritual. Basically, they're using more expensive foci, more expensive material components, that kind of thing, to give their ability extra punch.
Mind you, for this basic character that we're using for this demonstration has a salary of 12.
Right.
So there is a limit to how many times, in a particular time frame that they can do this.
Yes. And as mentioned in other streams, your salary refreshes every 2 weeks in game. So it's very much a do I want to risk it, but against tougher enemies, it is a valid option. So,
All right, who's up?
the occult specialist just went. That is all of us. So rat number 1. Well, rat number 6 first, which is dead.
Yep.
At the beginning of its
damage.
turn, yep, it takes its 3 fire damage, and it is now dead if you want to set that to invisible.
Alright. And now our Cryptid Rat 1 is going to take 3 persistent damage,
Yep.
or 3 fire damage, and it's wounded now, but not
Dead. So, it is now wounded. It is upset. It is on fire. It is going to try to give a hug to the first person it can reach. 1, 2. It's going to run after the beat stick.
Poor choice.
Yes. So,
Alright, let me bring that up.
because it has its minor wound, it takes again that -3 penalty.
And my agility is 2, plus evasiveness, which is 5, so I'm going to roll my 2d12 plus 7.
So, Cryptid Rat got a 22.
Yeah, you really do have that GM luck.
I really do. Oh.
Okay, let me check armor. Do I got armor? No, I got no armor. I got
No
I got a
armor.
boost to evasion.
So,
All right. Remember, that was 5 damage.
yep. So the beat stick.
No negating by armor, And then I have to make an endurance plus survival versus adversary's ferocity plus DC, which is 3. So if you could roll that 2d12 plus 6.
Absolutely. Are you sure you want me to roll?
You're doing great with them rats. All right, so endurance 2. This guy has no survival, so it's just the 2d12 plus endurance. These rats are tearing these guys up. Oof. Oh man, degree of failure.
Yep.
So they are also at stage 2. So they immediately are going to take the 2 poison damage and then take a -1 to resist it on their turn.
So,
Most of these guys are poisoned.
here is the downside of that. They only have 6 stamina. So their stamina has dropped to 0. They've taken 5 damage and then 2 poison. So 7 total. They are now 1 wound level, so they are at bruised. They take a -1 penalty to all ferocity, agility, and mental acuity based checks.
This is the beat stick.
This is the beat stick.
This is the first time beat stick has taken damage.
Yes. So the beat stick.
Oh, that's right, because they have stamina only 6.
Yep.
They're very low on. They're very small health pool, I should say.
Yes, the beat stick is very much a rogue style glass cannon, despite the 2-handed weapon.
So 5, and then they take the 2. So yeah, they are bruised. Ouch.
Yes.
And mind you, on character sheets, there is a section of boxes where you can mark these out, and we'll have all that cool stuff on here on Foundry whenever we can.
Yes. So
they are sucking.
Yes, at this point it is now top of the order.
Which would be
the beat stick. Yep.
Unfortunately, they are going to take 2 damage.
Yep. So
which is going to now put them at minor wound.
At major wound.
Weren't they at bruised before?
Yes. I missed impaired. So yes, they are at minor wound.
Yes, well, minor wound. Okay, what does that cause to any checks?
That is a -3 penalty to ferocity, agility, and mental acuity based checks until they can get healed.
Not endurance.
Right.
However, they're going to take that -1 because of they're at stage 2.
Yep.
So they've only got a +1 bonus in order to end this, or in order to lower this condition, which is unlikely. That is since the original was a 25, they're at 16. That is a degree of failure. So they worsen. And the next time they take damage, it's going to be a total of 3, which is so not good for them. That is going to put them potentially at dead. They do not have any heal skills.
Nope. So at this point, what would probably be best is for him to try and end combat now.
Yes.
And then we can start using the other abilities. We won't use them right now, but because again, this is just a demonstration of combat.
This venom injector positive impact is definitely a huge factor for this.
Yes.
And I won't lie, this is an early combat.
Yes.
For the box.
So, one of the things, we'll talk about it more, but positive impacts are something that can be swapped out pretty easily. Just like how weapons are modular, so are the adversaries. Again, we'll go over that more, but
Later.
if you're playing, yeah, we'll go over that more in another stream. But if you're playing and it turns out, hey, based on my
Something's not
group's
working
play
out.
style, something isn't working out, we didn't really prepare for this, you can very easily swap out positive impacts pretty much on the fly to help your table a little bit or to make it more challenging for your table, because screw those guys.
Everything's going to be very fluid. We wanted to give GMs as much latitude with making really cool stuff at the same time, while, you know, we're going to have pre-made monsters and things like that for if you just want to throw them in there, or if you want to make something tougher, lower the difficulty. We'll go over that much
Yes.
more in depth. You said I took a penalty because of the condition that I'm in?
Yep, -3 penalty.
Oof. Okay, so instead of a ferocity of 5, it's going to be ferocity. So 5 plus melee 6, so 11 minus 3. So they're only going to be doing it a 8.
Yep. But they also take a -3 penalty.
Oh, okay. 17's not great. Okay, now it's
19.
my version.
So it's a fail. However, they have now attempted to dodge twice this turn.
All right. I'm gonna make another attack. 12. I did what, 8? So now it's +2.
Yep,
Oh man.
it's okay. So no degrees of, well, this is only for degrees of success.
Oh, that's true because they have no
Dodges left. So that is still a hit, and that is still going to be a kill. But
likely because they have very little health.
yes. And again, the beat stick does 10 damage, which is more than enough to kill a
Yeah.
rat in one hit.
Now, mind you, because we've got tons of persistent health effects going on. You know, you might want to still be running in rounds or
Yes.
turns, things like that. But
So at this point, this gives you a basic idea of how combat works. Things we could have done differently. With multiple enemies, what we could have done is pulled back a little bit and had somebody in the doorway blocking attacks. We could have taken cover better over here by the tables and forced them to come to us. Or we could have plowed our way through here and then took cover there. We could have also switched weapons. You'll notice we didn't really do that this time. Once a character had their weapon out, they tended to keep it out. The occult specialist, for example, had a shotgun. Something that attacks in a cone and hits multiple enemies at once. The beat stick has their claymore, which does massive damage. Their secondary weapon is only a revolver. So they were probably best sticking with their claymore. But as you play more, you'll get more system mastery and being able to recognize the right tool for the right job. Very specifically, Jason and I kept with those weapons to show how quickly things can go wrong.
what can go wrong will go wrong.
Yes. Only a
Especially
revolver,
with
yes.
swarms.
Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten into swarms yet, but we
Oh,
didn't
no,
want
not even
to.
close. And these guys is a moderate difficulty for base character roll-ups. at a DC 3. The enemies have some decent. I mean, they didn't have very much in the way of skills. They have the adversaries are skilled in survival, what you would
Yes.
expect for rats, but not so much for much of anything else.
Yep. So, now that y'all have seen a sample combat, any questions for us? Anything that didn't make sense? Anything that was a little odd? Anything you liked, disliked, etc. We're going to open this up for questions for a minute or two, and then thank you everybody for showing up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome having a bunch of people in the chat.
Yes. At one point we hit 8 or 9 people, which is great. Karuk, I realize you just got here, it looks like. Thank you for chatting. Welcome. Sorry you showed up at the very end. Time Glitch, Super Destructo, Fee, everyone who showed up, whether you're still here or not, thank you.
And we're gonna be this should be recorded, so you guys can just review if you want to. We'll have some feedback at some point for people to give us some info if you feel like it. Wolves are
Absolutely.
very fancy. So we could toss PCs against some wolves. Definitely.
Oh yeah, we'll do that next time.
Just be glad I didn't throw any boss adversaries in this.
Oh yeah. Absolutely looking forward to the first time everybody fights as Amaya.
For people who don't know, that's a World of Darkness, particularly giant creature. Well, fantasy, a dragon,
Yes.
basically.
So, again, we'll go over this more in the adversary breakdown. All of the adversaries in the Shattered World are based off real world myths, real world legends, real world urban myths, etc. The Zemaya, or the Zemay, is a Russian fire breathing dragon. Can have multiple heads similar to a Hydra.
This also includes different versions of pop culture type
Yes.
creatures.
So, for example, the cryptid rats.
Mm-hmm. Sewer gators, things like that.
Yes.
Might include SCP sort of things, since those are open content that are very much urban legends at this point. Or if you've ever heard of the Rake, Shadow People,
Yes.
things like that.
So, I'm not seeing any questions. So, moving forward, next week, we will have that posted on our Facebook, facebook.com/MrBites. Feel free to visit us there. And then this stream will be on Twitch. It will also be on YouTube, because Twitch only lets us keep a stream up there for so many days. Yeah, basically. These are based off the New York City rats, the myth. Yes. One of them also skates on a frying pan with butter. That's more Muppets, but
Splinter. Oh yeah, we can give that guy some levels.
absolutely we can write up Splinter. I have no problem with that. Alright, so at this point, again, thank you everybody who showed up. We greatly appreciate your support. We will be doing this every Saturday and Sunday. The stream schedule is posted both on Facebook and on here. If you have any...
We're going to circle back around to talking about adversaries, and we're going to have some really, really cool demonstration stuff for
Yes.
you in the future.
So, again, my name is Alan from Mr. Bites. With me is...
Jace
And...
from Nematon Studios.
Yep. Thank you, and everybody take care.
Have a good one.